This is not a normal Super Bowl, Skip. Now, the NFL said the capacity is going to be 22,000 fans. 7,500 of them will be frontline workers. The rest will come from a lottery from the other 30 teams. So it's not like the other 16,000 or however many, that's 15,000, what it's going to be, Skip, is going to be Tampa Bay fans. So you're looking at a stadium that's 30% capacity. But the question I asked Bruce Arians, how did the normal work routine work out for the teams that you beat on the way to the Super Bowl? Green Bay got to sleep in their bed. New Orleans got to sleep in their bed. Washington got to sleep in their bed. It's different. Guess what, Skip? You remember how they used to have media day the night before and everybody up on a big old stage and 5,000 press credentials are given out and everybody's talking and a lot of people asking questions that don't have anything to do with football. They don't even got that. This year they sit in front of the Zoom. So this is going to be more like for me, this doesn't, other than it's the Super Bowl, Skip, nothing about this feels like a Super Bowl because you're doing everything like you've been doing all year through Zoom. You can go into practice and guess what? Guys are going to go home and they're going to sleep in their own beds. So I'm going to disagree with Bruce Arians on this one because this is a Super Bowl unlike any other. Maybe he would be right if they had to go down there and there's a Skip, you know how it is. Every year sometimes guys get caught up. You know, in Tampa they got the, what's that district called, Skip? Ybor. I think that's Ybor City. I think that's what it's called, Ybor City. And they got Mars, Venus down there. I don't know anything about that, y'all, but I'm just saying.
I really don't know anything about it, but you seem to.
I don't know nothing about that. I don't know. But I might have walked by it. I didn't go in, I walked by it.
Yes, you might have explored it once or twice.
No, I walked by and say, no, I don't need to go in there because I don't want people see me going in there and think I'm. No, but Skip, I disagree with Bruce on this one. I don't see the advantages that you would normally get had it been a regular Super Bowl and they got to do things on their normal schedule, go home, sleep in normal beds. But because they're not traveling until Saturday, and probably Tampa, I don't know. I don't know if they let them because, normally, Skip, the night before the game, everybody would go to the hotel. But because of COVID, they might be allowed to sleep one extra day.
Maybe.
Saturday night, they might stay. So I don't see the advantages that Bruce Arians think he would have gotten had it been a normal Super Bowl. Because it's not normal, I don't see the advantages gained.
Okay. So, you know how I feel about Bruce Arians? He talks too much. And he can't stop talking because he loves to hear himself speak. And now that he's on the Super Bowl stage, I'm actually relieved that it won't be the regular week where he's still going to have a lot of Zoom type opportunities here.
But can you imagine media day with him?
No, I cannot, because he just can't help himself. So I do believe that Tampa has some advantage. I'm not going to go all the way to huge, but I'll go some. But there's no reason for him to say it publicly. If he believes it, just keep it to yourself, because it doesn't do you any good to speak that publicly unless you really think you can play mind games with the Chiefs, who obviously just won last year's Super Bowl. I don't think you can. I don't think you're going to win that game.
Most of their guys have, that team, Skip, have Super Bowl experience. And they did it when it was a normal Super Bowl.
Okay, now, back to your point. I'm going to flip it around a little bit. Obviously, you played in 3 Super Bowls. I've covered Super Bowls all the way back to the middle 70s. In fact, my first one was out here. Fran Tarkenton versus Kenny Stabler, Minnesota versus the Raiders.
That been like 77, old man Willie picked him?
Yeah. And it was out here at was it the Rose Bowl? I think it's the Rose Bowl. I don't know. I get foggy. The point is, I know what it feels like in a normal Super Bowl week, and the distractions are enormous for the team that's the newcomer. If you have one with some Super Bowl or a lot of Super Bowl experience, it just doesn't matter anymore. And you knew that feeling, especially when you got to Baltimore. They knew the drill. You know what has to get done and what can't be done. You're going to wait. It's still a business trip. You know how that goes.
You try to explain them, Skip. The Super Bowl, the game Sunday, that's for you. All the festivities, that's for the people that's coming down to watch you on Sunday.
All right, I got it. I think it will benefit Tampa fairly hugely that a young team with very little Super Bowl experience, that I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 7 players with Super Bowl experience. Obviously, Brady's going to his 10th, Gronk's going to his 5th, but then there are
AB's played in 1.
AB's 1. Shaq Barrett's played in 1, but he didn't play much for Denver. JPP played in one. Sue played in one. LaShawn played in last year's with Kansas City. So they got 1-1-1-1-1.
Right.
So after that, you got 48 other players on the roster who have no idea. Well,
and a lot of those players don't even know what it's like to play the playoff game, so let alone.
So they just won 3 road playoff games, and yet now they're going to be kept out of harm's way because there's no Super Bowl week. And number 2, you don't even have to fly.
Right.
So you are literally staying business as usual at home.
Right.
Where you're sleeping in your own bed, like to your point. Will they go to a hotel the night before? They might or might not, given the COVID
situation. Right.
But in the end, I think it will benefit them greatly to be out of harm's way, where they'll have little to no media. I know they're going to make the players do various Zoom sort of interviews, but really, it won't be anything like you guys.
Because you know what it was going to be like. What that would have been Tuesday night. Tuesday night is when they had a big media night. They put that in prime time.
Now they're doing it Monday, right? They started doing the big Monday bash.
Oh, I forgot.
Right?
I'm thinking the Super Bowl this Sunday. Oh, we got another week.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how they do the big press thing, Skip, because you have your big superstars and they lined up on the stage.
Yep.
You have Mahomes and Kelsey and Tyreek and Chris Jones probably. You have about 5 or 6 of your big guys. They're on the stage.
Yep.
And everybody's crowded around them. And then you have your other guys. They're up in the in the stands.
So I do think it benefits those 48 players with no Super Bowl experience that they get to practice in the shadow of the field. You literally look over the practice field fence and the stadium rises up right there.
Right.
So you're like, oh, we're home. We're good. Okay, back to the healthcare workers, all of them double vaccinated.
Right.
There's approximately 7,500, which will be 1/3 of the audience that's going to be allowed in. But from what I'm reading, a majority of those 7,500 will come from the Tampa area.
Right.
So the odds are better that there'll be Tampa fans, or at least want to root for the home team, right? So the crowd will probably be pro-Bucks. I'm going to guess it'll feel a little pro-Bucks. Now, do I love Tampa at home? I told you all year long. I don't really love them at home.
You prefer to be on the road.
Because they're 5-3 at home. They went 6-2 during the regular season at home, and now they're 9-2 on the road with 3 straight wins in the playoffs. Okay, so I just assume you go play this one at Green Bay. It'd be fine with me. But in the end, just for normalcy, just for business as usual, routine, you couldn't do it better for this team to get ready for this game, because I don't think it will feel like it has near the magnitude of the usual Super Bowl.
But I like Kansas City because they get to do their normal routine.
Yep.
They don't have to practice on the road. They get to practice at home, and they treat it just like a trip, Skip, during the year that if they were traveling. We're going to practice. Obviously, this is the week where you do install. Now, I don't know how everybody else do it. Now, some teams do it, Skip. They do their install once they get down to the location. But the way we did it, every time we had we're in the Super Bowl, we installed the week before.
Yeah.
And then once we got down there, everything was a dress rehearsal. Let's tighten this up. We know what we're going to do. Boom, boom, boom. That's how we did it. I believe, Andy, now the West Coast, they always install the week before. I don't know how BA is going to do it, but I'm telling you how the West Coast people do it. They install the week before. So they're in their normal routine, Skip. Guess what? We do an install. We're going to have 2 weeks of great practice. We're going to hit the road Saturday before the game.
Yeah.
Go play.
By the way, there was also one Jimmy Johnson who in his first Super Bowl with the 92 Cowboys, they came out here to play at Pasadena, and they were staying over in Santa Monica near the ocean, practicing at UCLA. And guess what he did on Thursday before the Super Bowl?
Put him in pads.
All pads, and they thudded, as you say. They thudded, and I happened to be in the hotel lobby when they got back, and I remember John Giesick, a veteran offensive guard for that team, was just furious and pulled me aside and said, "You can't believe what he just made us do." Well, they went out and demolished the Buffalo Bills, right? So it worked.
Yes.
So there are lots of ways to skin this cat, but I think that with Brady at the helm, who is the co-head coach, now we're back to what happens. You're going to start hearing this all week, next week especially, but Andy Reid has been spectacular when you give him 2 weeks to prepare, either off a bye week in the regular season or off if you give him a bye going into a playoff game. He is 26-5, regular and post combined, when he's had 2 weeks to get ready for a game, because he's really good at what he does. He will come up with ways to exploit your weaknesses.
Because you think about it, Skip. You think about what the plays that he come up with from week to week.
Yep.
That, like, Andy, do you even sleep?
Yep.
Because for you to just think about stuff like this, and now he has 2 weeks to prepare. And it's going to be very interesting to see the first 15, the first 20 that Kansas City comes out of the gate with, because normally they come out the gate smoking. And that's what they hit Buffalo, Skip. They hit Buffalo with that, and they never look back. And that's how they get you.
Well, the biggest smoke job they did all year was at Tampa Bay in the first quarter when Tyreek had 203 receiving yards.
Well, Skip, I think they'll play a little closer attention to Tyreek.
I would hope so.
And you're probably not gonna single him up with anybody.
Okay, so counteracting Andy Reid's 26-5 is this guy who I still say is the unofficial head coach of the other team and the offensive coordinator, and his name is Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., and he is 32-8 in his career with 2 weeks to prepare. One of those 2 weeks came against Andy Reid and the Eagles. You remember Donovan and Terrell Owens back in what was Brady's third Super Bowl.